And we start with the basics. Here we go. First, we find out where it's equal to 0. It's equal to 0 at 2, at 4, and at negative 3. We look at the top and the bottom. Next, we set up a number line. And we put those zeros on the number line in order. Negative 3, and I like to put the number on top. 2 and 4. Now that I have those in place, I make a chart. The chart has rows and the chart has columns. The number of columns is one more than the number of zeros. So since I have 3 zeros, I'm going to have 4 columns. I then make rows. There's a row for each factor. So there are 3. X minus 2, x minus 4, x plus 3. Then I start to test. Hannah, give me a number to the left of negative 3. Number to the left of negative 3. Negative 5 minus 2 is a negative. Negative 5 minus 4 is a negative. And negative 5 plus 3 is a negative. Jada, give me a number between negative 3 and 2. 1. 1 minus 2 is a negative. 1 minus 4 is a negative. 1 plus 3 is a positive. We'll pick 3. 3 minus 2 is a positive. 3 minus 4 is a negative. 3 plus 3 is a positive. And we'll pick 5. Positive, positive, positive. So if you notice, these are all factors. It doesn't matter whether I'm multiplying or dividing. 3 negatives, whether you multiply or divide them, will that be a positive or a negative? 3 negatives. Positive or negative? Negative. 2 negatives and a positive. Positive. 1 negative and 2 positives. 3 positives. Would you agree that the positives really don't have any bearing on whether it becomes positive or negative? It's just the number of negatives, isn't it? It's all we're really concerned about. Are we wondering where this guy is positive or negative? Negative. Because we're wondering where it's less than 0. That would happen here, and it would happen here. And so my solution set is from negative infinity to negative 3, union with 2 to 4. What do you think? That's it. All right. What are my zeros here? 0, 5, 10/3. So I start with a negative 2, 0, 10/3, 5. So how many columns am I going to have? 5. How many rows? 4 is correct. Remember what I do now? Choose a number. Which one? Something less than negative 2, we'll choose negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive. Negative 3 minus 5 is a negative. Negative 3 plus 2 is a negative. And 3 times negative 3 is negative 9 minus 10, that's going to be a negative. You go ahead and see if you can complete the chart the rest of the way across. Go. Okay, check, see what you got. Are we on the same page? So if I've got 3 negatives, this is going to end up being negative. How about this one? Positive, negative, positive, negative. Now, you can see that the signs alternate. The truth is that the majority of the time they do alternate, but it does not happen all the time. It does not happen all the time. So, am I wondering where it's positive or negative? Positive. So we're looking from here to here, and then from here to here. So I list negative 2 to 0, and then 10/3 to 5. And here's where there's just a slight issue, okay? You think we use parentheses or brackets? Why? You are right that you would want to use brackets. However, we can't use brackets for all of them. The equal sign here says use brackets. And I do put a bracket around 0. And I do put a bracket around 5. But I can't put a bracket on negative 2. And I can't put a bracket on 10/3. Does anybody know why? If you plug negative 2 or 10/3 back in, you would get 0 in the denominator, correct? So they can never be part of the solution set, even if it says equal to. You can't include them. See that? A little tricky, huh? Yeah, it's all right. Okay, good. Good job. Halfway there. We got 2 left. You guys are smart. Imagine how tough this would be if you weren't smart. Can you imagine that? You know, it'd just be a really bad day. Okay, what's different about this example? It's not 0, so we subtract the 2 over. I have 4x over 2x plus 3 minus 2 over 1 is greater than or equal to 0. You see all the other ones are in factored form, and they're less than 0 or greater than 0. In this situation, I first get it towards less than or greater than 0, and then I form one fraction. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2x plus 3, so that way I have common denominators, and I can create one fraction. So now you have 4x minus 6 all over 2x plus 3. The 4x's go away, and you're left with negative 6 over 2x plus 3, and that was greater than or equal to 0. Is the top ever equal to 0? The top is just always negative 6. Is the bottom ever equal to 0? Where? Negative 3/2. So I mark off negative 3/2. So how many columns do I have? 2. And I'm going to then, we have 2 factors. We have the top, which is negative 6, and we have the bottom, which is 2x plus 3. I'm going to test. Which number would you like to choose? Negative 2. Well, negative 6 is always negative. If you plug in negative 2 here, you get a negative result. Now what number should I plug in? Sure, negative 1. I really like 0. I'm kind of a 0 guy. Like 0. Plug in 0. This is always negative. Plug in 0 here, you get a positive. So a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative times a positive is a negative. Am I wondering where this thing is positive or negative? Positive due to the sign there, so we are going this way. Bracket says I include negative 3 halves, but bottom says you can't include negative 3 halves. So therefore, negative infinity to negative 3 halves. Can I show you one other way to do the same problem that I think is actually a little bit easier? Not a lot easier, just a little bit easier. I don't like the negative. So I multiply through by negative 1. And when I multiply through by negative 1, what do I have to do? Switch the sign. And the deal is that when I go through this process and I list negative 3 halves, I divide it into 2 parts. I don't have to list both 6 and 2x plus 3, because 6 is always positive. And positives don't make a difference, do they? So I just have 2x plus 3. I test negative 2, I get negative. Test 0, I get a positive. Now you can see that we're wondering where it's negative. And where is it negative? It's negative here. So you can see that the solution set ends up being the same. If you have a negative constant, you must include it. If you don't have a negative constant and just a positive one, you don't have to include it. The negative changes things, while the positive doesn't. You are ready to lead me through this problem. I don't need to do any work at all. You tell me what to do, and I will do it, and that'll be the showing that you are ready to do your assignment. What do I do? Subtract 3x. Like the way you guys think. How? Now what? So we got negative 3x squared minus 2x. Now, you could get the negative out. This is where you get to make a choice. You can either factor out negative x, or you can just multiply through by a negative 1. I like multiplying through negative 1. That's how I would do the problem at this point. But everybody has their preference. So I just go 3x squared plus 2x over x plus 1. So then it's greater than 0. Just remember, when you multiply by a negative 1, it just changes the top or the denominator, not both. You just change one or the other. Okay. Now what? You do factor out the x. This is now written in factored form. What are they? Okay. Four columns. Three rows. Choose number less than negative 1. What would you like? So I get a negative, negative, a negative. Now what? Negative 1/2 is going to fall over here. Negative 3/4. I personally, at this point, I just like to think of a decimal. You all okay with that? What's a decimal between -1 and -2/3? -0.8. So -0.8 is negative. 3 times -0.8 is -2.4 plus 2, that will be negative. And -0.8 plus 1 is positive. Now I'll move to Garrett's -1/2. Negative. 3 times -1/2 is -1.5 plus 2, that's a positive. -1/2 plus 1 is positive. And finally, choose 1 and you get positive, positive, positive. Look at that. Look at your negatives to positive just like cascades to the side. Is that pretty? 3 negatives is a negative. 2 is a positive. 1 is a negative. That's positive. Am I wondering where it's negative or positive? Positive. There are no equal signs in this problem, so no worries about any brackets at all. -1 to -2/3. Union with 0 to infinity. That's it, Shelby. So tomorrow you get an entire workday on this assignment not because I want to be a nice guy. I don't really care about that as much as I used to, but because you need it, because it's a lengthy assignment. It's putting together your factoring, it's putting together your fractions, and it's putting together your inequalities and number testing. So it's really a combination of a lot of the mathematics that we've done. I want to give you time to work on it. You can give your assignment right now. You're in 20 minutes during this hour, and then time tomorrow. Good job. You guys are smart.